back. It is, hang on, I screwed this up already.
168?
Episode 168 of the Metal Roundtable. I am Metal Rob, and right now we are old school.
Carcass John. Yo.
That's right. Carcass John is here. So we have another member of the Roundtable, and today is his episode, but we have not seen him yet. So
yeah.
I think we might have to give old Scooter a call.
We might.
But yeah, we're going to talk about Thin Lizzy today once we get into the episode, but we've got some other stuff to talk about. You want to give a shout out there, Carcass?
Well, I'll give a shout out to your shirt. It looks awfully good. Yeah.
Some moron drew that.
Yeah, some moron did draw that.
And here he comes.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, no. That was a pretty cool event. If for all of you that don't know, I guess Metal Rob is somewhat of a big deal in our area, in the scene.
That's not true.
He was with the heavy hitters of the, guys like Sterling Winfield and Kerry Crafton, people that just did work with Rigor Mortis and Pantera and
Rick Perry from Gamma
Rick Perry
Side.
from Warlock, Gamma Side,
Iron Jaw,
War Beast. Yeah, just regular
and
guys. And Bobzilla,
yes. Damage Plan.
Yeah, and who else was there? Spicoli, our friend Spicoli from KNON, and what do you say? And then there's Rob.
And then there's me, right?
With his own buttons and stickers, and I thought, I'm so proud of him.
Yeah, it was awesome, man.
Tell everyone what it was about.
So the way that happened was, so they have this battle for Vakken, and you can play at Vakken on a side stage or something. Let's welcome in Scooter Waters, shall we? Scooter.
Hey, well,
here I am. Dang, sorry, busy, crazy day. Are we already live and I missed it?
No, it's all good, man. Yeah. We went live. We were gonna call you, but then you showed up.
Yeah. I was working, and then the phone rang, and then the phone rang again, and then the phone rang again, and just busy day.
No worries. So we're just talking about Saturday night, so take your time to get ready. So they have the battle for Vakken, and you can compete in your band in regionals, and then you move on to bigger whatever. It's a bracketed thing, and the bands that we saw were from, I guess, the DFW region.
Sure.
And they go to Austin next, and we advanced 2 out of 9 bands, and the band that was the numbers winner was Creeper. I got a free t-shirt out of the deal, not for being a judge, just because my buddy ran the merch table.
Oh, you're welcome. Hey, and
and Carcass did the logo and the drawing.
And I know that Tex, yes, his name is Tex Duncan. If I said his real name is Tyrion, he would kill me. So I won't say his name is Tyrion. It's Tex. Tex Duncan was very appreciative of both of us being there, and he asked for input, and it was fun. It was a fun night. You got to see a bunch of various different types of metal, not just all the same thing, and everybody brought their A game. And it was probably really hard for you guys to decide who should go and who will try next year. But
Creeper 100% deserves it, and that's the truth. Oh, sorry, I'm messing around here and I hit the wrong thing. They deserve it, but man, there were some great bands. And you're looking for a Vakken band, and then they give you a pretty detailed, tick sheet to rate 1 to 10 in 6 different categories, and they give you things to make sure and look for, and we all paid attention to that. And it's funny because we mostly agreed, but then on a couple of bands, 2 or 3 of us were just polar opposite from each other. But Spicoli called me a couple nights before the show because one of the judges couldn't do it, and I hemmed and hawed, and then for just a minute until I found out who the other judges were going to be. And I was like, let me clear my calendar.
Wow.
I've been trying to get an audience with Carrie and Sterling for a while because I want to bend their ear about mastering and different things. And so I've got some good stuff coming up, and I feel like the importance of the job is starting to outweigh my talent level. So,
Well, and our buddy Francisco Polito from down in Houston way said that Carrie also did Dead Horse and a Devastation record, and yeah, he's done a million things.
yeah, he has, and he's just a really hell of a nice guy. And I met Sterling for the first time. He was really nice. I'd never met Bob Zilla before, and we were cutting up a little bit, and that was cool. And of course, we all know the governor, fairly well. So that's awesome. Oh, you have
Sacrifice.
something you want to talk about, Scott?
I don't know anything about this getting reissued and remastered.
Huh.
Oh, well, it's too bad that it'll sound even better than it actually does already, because that's a ripper. That is a ripper.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite Sacrifice albums, so no doubt about that.
Yeah, Saturday night was good, man, and I enjoyed it. It was good to see you, Carcass. I got to see the Metal Queen.
Yep.
That was nice.
She was there supporting her brother Tex.
Right.
Yeah.
And congrats to Creeper for moving on to the Battle for Vakken. Early March, they'll be down in Austin competing at the next level, and I wish them the best. I think they will do well. While I can't stop talking, I want to talk about a box I got in the mail, if that's okay.
Sure.
I'll be very quick. So I got a bunch of stuff that I have not had before. Some dude from New Mexico sent me this out of the blue. His name is, hang on. What is it today? Scott.
I am not Roger Waters.
Emerald.
Got an Eddie Ojeda solo album from Twisted Sister. So that's pretty cool. I've got massive allergy stuff going on, so I apologize. I'll mute my mic when I'm not talking. I've got an autographed CD that I've never had before. Did not know about this.
Missing pieces. It's all demos and unreleased stuff. And
got a Tom Kiefer album.
Really good bluesy hard rock album.
2013. Excited about that. Just a couple more. 4 more real quick. Helix that I've never heard. Vagabond Bones. That'll be good. Excited to hear that. Hope it's like the one that we worked on, because I like that one a lot. D. Snyder never let the bastards wear you down. I had never even heard of this. So, man, you crushed it on this box, dude. Black and Blue. I was totally unaware of this. And, I'm called Hair Metal Rob by some people. So that's Black and Blue. I'll fire that up. And then the last one. Now, I've seen this, Scott, so I don't know if I already had this or I've seen it come through in a collection, but Fueled by Fire.
Dude, that thing rips.
That's got to be thrash, right?
It is thrash. That's their first album, Metal Blade Records.
Yep.
They were part of that new wave of thrash metal that came out in the early 2000s with, Havoc and Vindicator,
Adventure of Blood, Merciless Death.
Yeah, yep. So I'm stoked about all of that.
Yeah, that thing rips. It really does.
And here comes Fraser with the insults. You're right. I know, it doesn't make any sense. I do that every time Carcass introduces me as Hair Metal Rob. I go.
It's just growing in the bot. It's just growing from here instead.
Right.
I didn't get it. You know what? I think this might be the first time that I didn't get anything in the mail since the last show. Not one thing. Not even a bill.
Wow.
Not even one of those church flyers that I continuously get. But so I was having a particular bad day because I didn't get anything in the mail, obviously. Mm-hmm. And I stumbled across this. It's a band called Scorched.
Looks like maybe
they're old death metal. Yeah, they're old school death metal. And I didn't even know this existed, but this is their original demo tape. And it was $1 at Recycled Books in Denton.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And before I forget, I want to post up. So we had the guys from ETD on the show a couple weeks ago, and this is go look up. I call it Jawaba. I don't know if I'm saying it right. Jawaba, but it's Jamming Out All Badass. And they are about to do, if they haven't already done it, I scrolled past it today. They're going to be doing an episode on the Stars release, the Ronnie James Dio led album Stars and all that goes along with that. I might need to jump in on that.
Jump around.
I'm excited about that. So, Holy Mackerel Sacrifice. Oh, yes. Sacrifice reissue. Yes. Like, oh, sorry.
Hey, I did get to see Papa Wayne this week. He took a quick tour of Casa de Carcass. He was up here doing some work and construction work and stopped by. And
You'll get one soon. You'll get one soon. I forgot.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Anyway, he didn't leave empty-handed, and that was kind of fun. And so I got the Scorched, and I think that makes up for any no mail, no packages, no parcels, and who knows what'll happen next week. Not even anything from Osric Tentacles, nothing.
Oh, boy, there it is. I played that for Richie on the way home from the show the other night.
Yeah.
We got to talking about it, and he was goofing on you for always saying that. And so I said, well, let's hear it. He's like, I got to know. And so I pulled it up on Spotify, and we got about 10 minutes in, and he finally looked at me and said, this sounds like video game music. And that's all that was said.
To each their own.
Yep.
Each their own, Black and Blue.
That's right. Well,
speaking of video game music, I just got an email today from Glenn Rogers, who of course is the guitar player in Primal, among others. And their new album is coming out on No Light to Metal Records. And their song, which is called Firefight, not Firefighter, got picked up by some major game company, and it's going to be the main song on a new game coming out called Thrashing Dice.
Nice.
Interesting. Very cool.
That's kind of interesting.
Hey, speaking of a new wave of thrash metal, I know Avenger of Blood just released. Is it Reannihilated?
Completely Reannihilated.
Completely Reannihilated. And now, is that just a reboot of Complete Annihilation, or is it new songs, or what is it?
It is all re-recorded versions of the first album, reworked, re-recorded, whatever you want to say.
Okay.
But re-recorded, remixed, remastered, and the whole bit. So it doesn't sound anything like it. It's so much more brutal and raw. The band hated the original recording, and I get it. It sounded like a demo, but
well, to each their own. Like I said, I like that record, but I would be interested to hear the reboot. Sure.
So it's coming out on vinyl and CD. You can also get that at nolighttometalrecords.com right now.
Oh, look at you!
Very nice. Well, today,
as well as the new Absalon and the new what's the other one? Reptilian, yes, featuring W.K. Orion, formerly of Reverend, and the drummer whose name is going to slip my mind, formerly of the Canadian band Annihilator.
Fraser, I did do that album. I remastered it. Metal does, in fact, rule.
It does. And it will prevail. Almost. Well, without fail, it will prevail.
That's
every time.
On a hat, or in a cat, or at bat, with a rat. Okay, sorry, that was my Dr. Seuss took over there.
Oh gosh, can you even say that? I'm so
I know.
offended.
Sorry.
So I know we're doing Thin Lizzy, and I rushed because I ran out of time and didn't get a lot of time. So I've got like box sets and 8-track tapes and all the other kind of crap from them. So I couldn't pull all that stuff, but I did pull my Thin Lizzy singles collection. So I got that going for us.
You know, when Rob said something about Thin Lizzy, I'm here to get an education. I've openly admitted that I don't know really anything about Thin Lizzy. I know that they were a major force at one point in time. I know Phil Lynott passed away. He's a great songwriter. I love Jailbreak. But other than that, I'm done. Live and Dangerous is a great live album, and now I'm pretty much done. So educate me, man, Johnny. Come on, Johnny the Fox. Tell me what's going on here.
And I'll go next because I'll have a very short part, and then we'll listen to Scott's education of the class.
Well, I just thought we could go album by album if you wanted to, like we do for other bands.
Do it, man. Yeah, get us going.
But what did you want to?
No. That's it. I was just going to say the ones that I knew and kind of liked, and yeah. But no, let's go through it.
All right. So I mean, Lizzy started off as a power trio, very much in the style of like Cream and Jimi Hendrix. And their first album was this was their first album.
I've actually listened to that.
It is very, very is it Celtic the right word? You can hear the Irish influences. It's not the Thin Lizzy most people know and love. It doesn't have the dual guitar going on. It's a single guitar player. Eric Bell, who's a great guitar player, he's got some solo albums out too that I like. But in the US, the cover looked like this, which I kind of like the US cover a little better. It's got that little funky little, I don't know, Tin Lizzy driving up the hips of a girl.
Oh, that's what that is. Okay.
Yeah, that's her belly button over here, and that's her hips and her leg.
Gotcha.
So, but yeah, some great photo of the band on the back. And again, if you want to compare it to the Jimi Hendrix Experience, I mean that's very much
looks like the Experience.
Yep. So obviously a huge influence on them, Hendrix and Cream, but also very much Celtic or Irish or whatever word is for that style of music that they were influenced by. Excuse me. Whiskey in a Jar was a traditional Irish song that they kind of popularized, and it became a big hit for them. And then got second wind when Metallica covered it decades later. So
you mean it's not Whiskey in a Jar?
Better.
Metallica what?
The Metallica version is better.
Not even close. But anyhow.
Oh gosh. All right, I want a clean fight. We've been briefed back in the backstage area.
Fair enough.
So, Metallica versions, they did some great covers. I love the stuff they did on the Garage Days and the Garage Days Revisited, but some of them I just thought were flat, and that was one of them I thought was flat.
Oh, I think that cover is a home run. 10 out of 10 by Metallica.
Which song did you hear first?
The Metallica version.
Of course. Anybody who says that, that's usually the case.
Right. but I even tried to go back and get into it, and I just don't like the original at all.
No, it's very 70s, almost 60s sounding, so I get it. Metallica's version is identical, except they've got that crunch that Metallica put on it,
Right.
And James can't sing to save his life, so that's he's great at thrash metal, but he's no Phil Lynott.
All righty, we've struck a nerve. What's the second album then?
Well, in between all this mess, this came out. This is Funky Junction.
I actually have that.
This is Thin Lizzy
playing Deep Purple songs
under the name Funky Junction. They were hired by the record company to do this album, and it was not released as a Thin Lizzy album. Obviously, it was called Funky Junction, and there was a couple extra guys playing along with them, but it's basically the three guys from Thin Lizzy with some other guys playing along. And this right here shows the weakness in musicianship, in my opinion, and I know that I can get crucified for saying this by Lizzy fans, but this shows the weakness in Phil Lynott's bass playing. Early on in his career, he obviously got better and better and better and became one of the elites. But early on, you could hear the weaknesses playing some of these Purple tracks. So, but kind of a cool thing. This is one of those albums that I don't know. It's kind of a grail for some people. It's funny because if you live in the UK, apparently you can find this thing anywhere. In the United States, this thing never shows up.
Yeah. Well, I don't think Phil Lynott was ever compared to Roger Glover as far as bass skill, but as you say, he did get better. He was a very serviceable bass player, and when they first started off, he wasn't really asked to do anything but hold down a rhythm. So
right, and he was the main songwriter in the band, so he was, that was his job more than anything else. So,
but yeah, I actually have that, and it's actually kind of cool.
It is fun. I like it. It's fun.
Yeah.
And then it was Shades of a Blue Orphanage. Again, still the three-piece. The name of the band is made up of Shades of a Blue Orphanage is like made up of some of their old bands. I can't remember I think one of them was called Orphanage, one of them was called Shades of Blue or something like that. So from their old 60s bands, and that's where they get the name from. And obviously that's supposed to be the three of them as children, although I'm sure it's not. But but they all look like street punks from on there.
Well,
that's kind of what they were.
Again,
Jimmy Arsenault. Jimmy Arsenault's watching.
Still very much in the the Cream Hendrix style of music, still very much steeped in this 60s influence, and still a whole heck of a lot of that Celtic or Irish sound going on.
As I remember, that thing is it's almost, I don't want to say mellow, but it's kind of mellow. It's not like a hard rocking album at
It does
all.
not have that heavy guitar riffing that they became known for, and again, it doesn't have any of those dual guitar solos that they also became known for, because it was post that. And this was kind of their next one was their crossover album. This is an original pressing of Vagabonds of the Western World, and this is where Fitzgerald started taking over the artwork for them and doing all their covers.
That's a killer cover, by the way, in my opinion.
Yep, I agree too. But this had a couple tracks on it that would show what Thin Lizzy would become. At this point, Eric Bell was getting tired of touring and probably drinking and everything else, and got ready to leave the band. So during this tour, he split, and Gary Moore came in to fill in. And Gary Moore and Lynott, their ties went way back to like the early 70s. So, and Moore would go in and out of the band several times after this as well. So, but yeah, the song "The Rocker" on here was kind of a preview of the sound that would come and became a concert staple for them, and it's where Philip Lynott got the nickname "The Rocker." So there's a bunch of books out on him, and a lot of them are called that, "The Rocker." So, but this also has on it the awesome song "Slow Blues" on there, and "Little Girl in Bloom" was another semi-hit off the album. So that's the early years. That's the Power Trio years before the sound really started to change, and they got two new guitar players to start that dual thing. And the reason they got two guitar players wasn't because Phil was like, I'm going to get two guitar players and do dual lead stuff. No, he's like, I'm going to get two guitar players, and that way, if we're in the middle of a tour and someone quits, I still have a guitar player. It just ended up working out that way. So that's when Scott Gorham, who was from the United States and had massively long hair, and I was jealous growing up, he joined the band, as did Robbo. What's his name? I always call him Robbo. Robertson, the other guitar player.
Brian Robertson?
Yes, Robbo Brian Robertson. So that's where we're at. What do you guys?
No, I'm kind of, I guess I know more about Thin Lizzy than I thought, because I've actually am in line with that. And I mean, I guess if you have to replace your guitarist with Gary Moore, oh gee, I feel so bad. Not really, but because Gary Moore was in an early rendition of a band called Skid Row.
Yes, and they released an album too, and I have that album.
Yeah,
and
really good.
Of it. Really
kind of bluesy, good, kind of a Frank Marino style.
Yeah, and as I recall, Philip Lynott was in Skid Row and got kicked out. So that's where the friendship kind of came from. And I mean, I've read so many Thin Lizzy biographies; it's ridiculous. But I recall he got kicked out because he just wasn't cutting it as a bass player. I mean, he was really, really, really new to playing bass at the time. So,
hey, do you guys want me to? I sent you a message. Hit the private chat. I want you to see. Tell me what you want, if you want me to do that or not. Thumbs up. I didn't mean to derail the show. Sorry.
I don't care.
No, it's our show. We can derail it anytime we want, right, buddy.
I'll send the link.
So when did Jailbreak happen? Because that's kind of where I came in on them.
We're almost there.
Okay.
But I also I'm not going to show all the singles, because I could show you singles to your blue in the face. But they had a lot of singles that weren't albums. Like, this is their first single. This is actually a bootleg. This is the Farmer, which was their very first single. There's a lot of singles. They had a lot of songs on singles that weren't released on albums. So
interesting. That seemed to be the way of the world back there for the like the new wave folks. Yeah. They would release things that never were on a full length.
Tangle, and this one you can find any number of singles for Whiskey in a Jar. There's probably, I think I have at least 10. There's just one. But yeah, there's tons of singles for Whiskey in a Jar. Yeah, I've got 5, 6, 7.
Are they just different versions, or are they just different pressings?
Different pressings from different countries, different B-sides.
Okay, gotcha.
This song got re-released more than one time. It even came out on like these. I'm sure you guys seen these old gold singles.
Yeah,
I've got bunch of these old gold singles. But yeah, this is Whiskey in the Jar and the Rocker.
Is that a German? That's a German label that does that, isn't it? I saw.
Yeah,
I have
they have,
a couple of Scorpion singles like that.
yeah, I got probably 10 or 15 different ones, but there's two Thin Lizzy ones that as I recall.
Is that the Metallica version of Whiskey in the Jar? Because it's better.
Metallica tried. I'll give them that. There's no Whiskey in a Jar.
I thought Jar had more than one R. Jar ra ra ra.
Nope.
Nope.
Nope. But anyhow, Little Darling. There's a ton of singles, so I won't go through them all. But now we're getting into the stuff where, it's where it's. I'm trying to see if there's any Little Darling. It's got so many singles, it's ridiculous. Anyhow, there are some singles that are important to show though. Like when they collaborated with the Sex Pistols and stuff like that. Those were never released on albums; they were all released as singles.
Wow, they did that. That's Now, see, I'm interested now because I love the Sex Pistols, as you can tell by my door.
There is any number of, and I'll pull just a couple of them out, so I'm not boring everybody. But there is any number of these compilations of that early stuff. Again, great cover art by Fitzgerald.
Yeah, man, that's killer.
And that's part 2. Here's part 1 of that series. This is I can't remember where this one's from, but this is an early one with Whiskey in a Jar and the Rocker, Sarah, Black Boys in the Corner.
Is that the Metallica version?
Metallica version blows, so no. I really don't think it blows. I'm just kidding around. But
yeah, I'm glad someone's strong enough to come out and tell the truth.
And this was the big, another Fitzgerald cover. This is Nightlife. This was their first album with 2 guitar players.
Okay, I think I actually heard that before I heard Jailbreak.
And this album, it's much like some of the early Scorpion stuff where they were or early UFO stuff. It's like the crossover album where they're finding their sound. So you got songs on here that are pretty dang heavy, like Sha-La-La and Nightlife. But then you got songs like Dear Heart that are really, and Still in Love with You, that are very much mellow and, still kind of steeped into that late 60s, early 70s sound. I always love this cover art though, man. That's cat,
amazing.
That cat is just cool. And this is all hand drawn stuff, man. This guy was amazing. Even the typography is all drawn, and it's just,
it's kind of reminiscent of a Roger Dean scenario. See, I thought Roger Dean did it and then had to do a little investigating because, Roger Dean of the S camp.
Fitzpatrick pretty much did all their stuff. Produced by Ron Nevison. Wasn't Nevison the guy who produced Crazy Nights by Kiss as well?
Yep.
No, but this doesn't sound like Crazy Nights. Crazy Nights was very,
it wasn't being spun in a disco somewhere.
No, this sounds very organic, whereas that Kiss album is very polished. That's the word I'm looking for. So I'm getting there. This was the big deal. This is where they really started kicking ass and had that 70s heavy metal sound. But this is fighting. This was and these guys were serious, man. That look of them looking like they're going to kick your ass. I mean, nobody messed with Lizzy or any of the guys in the band, or they would get their asses kicked. There's more than one time that these guys gotten hands busted from punching people out in clubs and whatnot. So, but this is the original UK pressing, and here's the US pressing.
Yep.
I've seen both of those.
And this has got a killer cover on there that almost became, most people didn't even realize it was a cover at the time, but Bob Seger's Rosalie is on here. Now, it wasn't actually Bob Seger, it's Bob Seger and Bob Seger's System band, not the band most people know. So
not the Silver Bullet.
Yeah, not Silver Bullet. But there's also heavy tracks on here like Suicide, which is great, and then classic tracks like King's Vengeance and The Ballad of a Hard Man. This whole album is fantastic. It's really to me it's just top notch. And this is where this was the Thin Lizzy most people know and love. And a lot of these tracks they played live. Suicide was always a great one. And what year was this? 73, 75, 70. What year was this? Anybody remember? 75. Who was doing steady double bass through an entire song in 1975?
Maybe Filthy Animal.
Metallica's
I know, they were
drummer. Metallica's drummer could barely play double bass, but anyhow.
I'm just gonna keep beating you down with it just for fun.
Well, he's speaking the truth.
Yeah, I mean, I love Metallica, so don't get me wrong. I just think, the drummer here in this band he's one of the most underrated drummers in the world, in my opinion.
September
Like I
12th,
said,
1975.
who was in Overkill started doing that on 1978 or so
Rat
with
Skates.
I'm sorry, not Overkill. Motorhead's Overkill started doing that 1978. That
Oh
album came
yeah,
out.
yeah. Filthy Animal.
Yeah, with the steady double bass.
Right.
Well, I mean, the song "Suicide" is the same way. It's that and that double bass is just going the entire song. So anyhow, really early for that sound.
Fighting. I'm writing it down.
And then here's where you guys probably. Let me see if I need to pull any singles up here. I got so many singles. It's stupid.
Uh-oh.
I am definitely a fanatic when it comes to Lizzy.
Yep, this is pretty much where I jump on board.
I jump on and off board.
Yeah, and nothing against their old stuff. This is what I knew. This is what I heard on the radio a million times.
They're very, now that you're talking about it, Scott, this is very akin to the Scorpions. They followed kind of the same career path, a lot of psychedelic stuff, kind of oddly mellow things, and then they just jumped into hyperspace with,
right. Or you could say the same thing about UFO.
Yeah,
I mean,
same thing.
UFO 1, UFO Live, UFO 2, very much in the space rock, and then Schenker came on board, and then they kind of had that crossover sound between the two albums,
right?
And then they, then they were the metal
Phenomenon
kings of the late
and
70s.
all those came out, and then the rest was history.
Right. They were the heavy metal kings of the late 70s. So, but now this is the original pressing of this. I don't see
on Vertigo. I like it
because here, let me show it to you because I didn't even know this until years later that the cover is a gatefold.
Oh wow!
Which it's part of the storyline,
right?
Which gets lost in the other pressings. It's also kind of interesting that one of the guys gets cut off on the front cover here, but on the repressings, you can clearly see all four guys. So they shrunk that picture of this picture down, and fit it inside this little hole for every other pressing I've ever seen, except for the original pressing.
See, I think if I could find a good original pressing, I would probably have that in my collection. So,
yeah, this thing's been reissued, many times over. So,
yeah, mine was a Mercury pressing, which was U.S.
I have a Mercury pressing here too. I'll show it to you guys. But it's actually a promo pressing with the promo press kit inside of it.
Cool.
But you take the press kit out and you can see the
four guys.
The four guys.
Oh, dude, yeah, they are smaller, much smaller.
Yeah, it's so then it's
yeah,
pretty different. But again, Fitzpatrick, freaking fantastic artist.
But that's just a slip case. That's just a slip jacket. It's not a gatefold.
Yeah, there's no gatefold. It's just
yeah.
But these guys were actually looking like heavy metal stars here too.
Yeah.
I mean, Lynott was now wearing leather and denim and had the spiked wristbands on and the whole bit during this, on this tour. So, what was this? 76, I think.
Yeah, about 76 or so.
This one I have like on cassette and 8-track tape, and
I actually have the 8-track or the 8-track and the cassette. I just don't have a good vinyl pressing because they're always beat.
That's true, but it was a party album, as you might remember.
Yep. Yeah, I do remember.
So you guys, I don't want to just.
No, you're doing great, dude.
We're teacher. We're here to listen.
Yeah, we're the students today.
Okay, I'll keep going. A follow-up album, which didn't generate any hits, unfortunately, despite the fact that this album is pure gold. I like it better than Jailbreak. A lot of fans do. A lot of Thin Lizzy fans do. But this has got some heavy stuff on it. including one of the heaviest songs he ever wrote called Massacre, which Iron Maiden covered.
Wow, I didn't know that.
So,
well, see, now you're going to force me back into the catalog because I looked at the cover and I just thought it looks kind of lame. It doesn't look exciting to me, and I was branching off into other things at that moment. And
yeah, I've never paid that much attention to Johnny the Fox, but I've got a couple buddies that are like, that's the greatest Thin Lizzy album there is.
a lot of people say that. A lot of people do. They think this is the best Lizzy album they ever recorded. But there's some great stuff on here, and it's pretty much a concept album, a story about a guy named Johnny. So you get
a fox
name,
too.
You get that name running through. Matter of fact, one song's called Johnny, and one song's called Johnny the Fox meets Jimmy the Weed. Johnny the Fox, he called you Jimmy the Weed. Anyhow, I don't know. I've always loved the cover. I just think Fitzpatrick is such a fantastic artist. But this is another one of his deals. All hand drawn. That's just amazing. And that all the detail that's in that thing. But am I saying his name right? I'm almost positive I am. Fitzpatrick, but Jim Fitzpatrick, by the way. I just keep saying his last name. But yeah, Sweet Marie is the ballad on here. Boogie Woogie Dance. It's kind of a slow, I don't know, status quo, Foghat-esque hard rocker, boogie rocker. And Don't Believe a Word is a huge track for them that they played live forever. That particular song was re-recorded by several bands. It's also interesting about this time, or maybe just shortly after this time, this little band from the UK called Def Leppard popped up and started playing a whole bunch of Thin Lizzy covers.
Kind of like Metallica did. They just started playing cover tunes.
But apparently, from what I understand from reading an autobiography of Def Leppard, they were playing a lot of Lizzy covers, like to the point where they were almost a Lizzy cover band. That's what they were doing. So if you go back and look at some of the Thin Lizzy remasters that have come out over the past few years, or some of the remixes that they've done, Phil, what's his name? Not Phil Collin. What's the singer from Def Leppard's name?
Phil Collin? Oh, no.
There you go. Joe Elliott was very much a part of that process for whatever reason. I guess just because he was such a big fan and he's a well-known name. So anyhow, I'll keep going because we're going to run out of time.
You're doing great, dude.
And then this one came out. Now I'd have a hard time picking a favorite of the last three I've shown. This thing is just heavy, and this is the first album cover that's not Fitzpatrick. And it's odd because there's only three guys on the cover again. Brian Robertson, who is pictured on the back, barely plays on the album. He does play some lead, but he got his hand busted in a bar fight and couldn't play. And I don't know the whole story. It's been a while since I've read the autobiography, but I don't know if he was in the band or out of the band or what the deal was, but he was left off the cover, which I thought was a bit bizarre, especially because they included him on the back cover. But this album is awesome from front to back. There's not a bad song on here. So, and the song Bad Reputation is a heavy rocker. It's been covered by a bunch of different bands. What was that all-girl band that came from California with a car? There's a picture of a car in the front.
Girls' School?
No, from U.S., California.
Was it? Wasn't L7? Was it
Blue? Dadgummit, something blue. Anyhow, if I said their name, you'd probably know them. They did a cover that got some popularity of the song Bad Reputation, but that song's been covered by a lot of people. And again, that's a super heavy song, and it's got a lot of crazy drum bass work in it. And that's the song that ended up becoming one of the ones that they would do drum solo in the middle of during their live concerts. So
hey, I just texted Rodney Dunsmore, who we've had on the show, singer for Devastation, and I know he's probably as big a, if not bigger, a fan as Scott for Thin Lizzy. But I said, what is your best and favorite Thin Lizzy album and song? And he said, haha, impossible, my favorite band of all time. So there's that. And then he said, but Johnny the Fox for the album and Southbound for the song, just to give you something. So,
and Southbound is on this album, as is Opium Trail, Soldiers of Fortune, huge track, Dancing in the Moonlight.
Yep.
Killer Without a Cause, Downtown Showdown, Woman's Gonna Break Your Heart, and the ballad / prayer at the end called Dear Lord.
He just said, Yeah, that's too hard of a question for me. I love it all.
That's
So
the way I am
it's
too.
interesting.
But
It's interesting to see how many heavy metal dudes just worship Thin Lizzy.
Yep.
And
that
I
whole
know,
dual guitar thing. I mean,
yeah,
Priest and Maiden and all those bands picked up on Thin Lizzy and was one of the first, but wasn't just Thin Lizzy. What was the other one? It's slipping my mind.
Mahogany Rush did it, didn't they?
no,
No,
they were
Mahogany Rush
single.
was just Frank Marino.
Frank
Yeah,
Marino.
give me 2 seconds. I'll tell you. I gotta look because it's driving me nuts and I can't remember. Oh, I see it right here. Yeah, this is the band I was thinking of. Nope, that's the Good Rats. Remember the Good Rats?
Boomtown Rats.
I remember Rat.
Were they better than Metallica? Singing Whiskey
No.
in a
There you
Jar?
go.
Phantom
The other band doing the dual
Oh,
guitar
Wishbone
thing.
Ash. Yeah.
Wishbone Ash.
So
Phantom Blue is the name of the band you were trying to think of.
that's it. Phantom Blue. Yep, they did a killer cover of Bad Reputation. So,
TJ
which
knows
leads us
what
to
it is.
one of the greatest albums ever, greatest live albums ever.
Absolutely.
Okay, we all agree.
That
There's
one's
3.
actually in my collection. I think I have some of those other ones. I'm gonna have to go look now, but that one definitely is in my collection.
This took the timid production of some of those 70s albums. Same thing for like Nugent and Kiss and even Priest. You know, it took that more timid studio sound and where they couldn't capture that rawness that they get live, and it really brought it out in front of people. And people have said a lot of this is re-recorded. I don't know if it is not. I don't give a crap. It just sounds great.
So Kiss did the same thing. Big deal. Big whoop.
Yeah. But I think what Thin Lizzy did, unlike Kiss, was they recorded like, and I mean, we've got proof of that now. They took and recorded like 10 shows and then picked the best songs and mixed them all together to make it into one concert. Which is also what Nugent did. Double Live Gonzo's got no fixes on it, and you could tell, you could hear every little rub and
Yeah.
whatnot. So, but I love this album. It's been a favorite of mine since I was a kid. If I bought this album and saw Scott Gorham and showed my mom the picture of Scott Gorham with his hair down to his ass, and I'm like, I want my hair like that. And she said, when you're 18 and move out of my house, you can have your hair like that. So guess what I did when I was 18 and moved out of her house?
You grew your hair out. Okay.
Sure enough.
Fraser's putting you on the spot.
Yeah.
Who's better, Kiss or Thin Lizzy? Duh.
I like them both. They're very different sounds.
I don't know that you could pick really between who's
that's
better.
not a comparison.
No,
who has a better stage show? Kiss. Who has a better live performance? I don't know. Maybe Thin Lizzy. I mean,
I like them both.
Yeah, it's just that's apples and oranges, brother.
Yeah, I mean, they both were that considered 70s heavy metal, but these days people argue till they're blue in the face that there was no such thing as heavy metal in the 70s, to which I just laugh. But but I'm looking to see if there's any singles that are important to show here. I've got singles for every album. So like here's a Rosalie, the live single for Live and Dangerous, among others. But I don't want to miss on the connection with the Sex Pistols and stuff like that. Nope,
I didn't know that Tommy Aldridge played for them at one point in time.
Tommy Aldridge played for Thin Lizzy way after Phil passed away, and they were doing the reunion stuff and touring around. Excuse me. So he was not part of.
Is that right?
Never part of the original band.
Okay. Well, yeah, but they had a revolving door at some place at some of their positions. So
they had a revolving. Up until now, it's been the 4 pieces remain solid, except for Bad Reputation, where you only see the 3 guys in the front, where it was unknown whether he was going to be in the band still or not.
Right.
But I mean, he's on this very clearly on this. Mm-hmm. So, unfortunately, it didn't last very long with him, and we ended up getting another one of my all-time favorite albums, Black Rose by Thin Lizzy. And there's the 4 guys. Scott Gorham's still there, but Gary Moore's back in the fold and doing some of the songwriting along with Philip Lynott, of course, Philip Lynott was also writing and singing on and playing bass on a bunch of the albums that Gary Moore was putting out at the time too. So there's, I mean, my Gary Moore collection is as big as my Thin Lizzy collection, just because there's so many crossover connections between the two bands.
Mm-hmm.
Some of Gary Moore's biggest singles were co-written by Philip Lynott, and he either plays bass or sings on them or something. So, but yeah, this album's, again, I think it's phenomenal. I love this band, so love this album. Unfortunately, Gary Moore wouldn't last long either, again, because Thin Lizzy were definitely a party band, and we're way into doing drugs, to the point of obviously, eventually killing Philip Lynott. So he was tired of it, jumped out of the band during the United States tour, actually, and ended up recording an album in the United States called G-Force. Gary Moore did, and Thin Lizzy went on to finish their tour with one guitar player and then went back home. So, but this one had a ton of singles released. They didn't have anything as big as Boys Are Back in Town or Jailbreak on any of the albums up to this one, including this one. So their record company was getting impatient, but they released a crap load of singles for this album, including, and I thought these were kind of cool. This is a song Sarah, but they released the same single.
That looks like an 80s new wave band.
It does.
Well, it's definitely a love song. Sarah, I should have polished up my Thin Lizzy history. I think Sarah was his daughter. So Philip Lynott's daughter, that is. So, but yeah, there was just a crap load of them. Here's a UK version of Sarah. There's just so many of them, it's ridiculous.
That's awesome.
But I think there was one more album before I can get into some of the odd singles they started releasing outside of the band. But let's see where I'm at. Oh, here's a promotional 12-inch with a bunch of live tracks on it. I tried not to pull everything, but otherwise we'd be here forever. Fitzpatrick's back on the cover.
Yes.
Love this cover.
Oh, I like that cover too.
And again, Scott Gorham's still hanging in there. Of course, Brian Robertson. I'm sorry, not Brian Robertson. Philip Lynott is still the main songwriter, and Brian Downey has been a drummer since day one and never left. Even went in to do some of the stuff after Phil died, and they kind of came back and were doing reunion stuff, but he didn't stick around for that very long. But I like this album a lot. Some people don't. Guitar player on here was Snowy White, who added to the group. Snowy is known for his work with Pink Floyd. Toured with Pink Floyd quite a bit. Was all on stage with Pink Floyd a lot, but he also put out some solo albums. But the
Snowy
big track,
White. What did he play? What instrument?
He was one of the two guitar players on here.
Oh, one of the two guitar players.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't he? I was thinking. No, I guess that's not right. I was thinking someone from Merciful Fate or King Diamond. Snowy Shaw.
No.
Never mind.
Yeah. No, not the same. But Chinatown's, probably the most well-known song on here. But I really don't think it's a bad one. He's still singing about drugs, Sugar Blues. Obviously, we know what that's about, right? Killer on the Loose was one of the heavier tracks. There was a video made for it, like MTV style video, but it got zero play. And this was kind of early on, because what was this, like 80, 81, somewhere in that area? I don't even know if there was MTV yet at this point, but they did make a promotional video for that song.
MTV was 81, wasn't it?
I think sometime in 81.
Yeah. This is right around that time. So I don't think I never seen it on MTV. It was released on video years later, and that's what I have it on. But again, I love the back cover art too. Also Fitzpatrick.
Yeah, that's killer.
Cool.
And then there was this awesome single released for it. Let me get this box of singles again.
Man, school is in session, dude.
There's a Killer on the Loose single. Hey, man, I can't get rid of the glare. Sorry. There it is. But it's a double single. There's two 7-inch singles in this thing. And this is actually the first Thin Lizzy single I ever owned. So, and it's actually one I actually have owned. Most of my stuff I lost when I went through. I call it my super Christian days, but that one I never lost for some reason. So, but also around this time, here's a single called "Trouble Boys," and that song was never released on an album, as well as "Memory Pain." So these two tracks were never released on any album.
Interesting.
They released a couple of live EPs around this time. You can see Phil in the middle, and then you can see there's. Let's see if I can put this down. So you can see both the guitar players in the picture, but they almost look like twins. But one of them is Snowy White, one of them is Scott Gorham. So, but this has been released as a 12-inch single with extra more tracks, and a 7-inch single, and a bunch of other stuff. So, but this also came out with almost there. Hang on, give me a second. I showed you Trouble Boys, right?
Yep. So Fraser wants to know: do you have more Aerosmith or more Thin Lizzy in your collection?
Aerosmith.
There you have it, Fraser.
I own probably 99% of every Aerosmith single ever released in the anywhere in the world. I own all the Japanese singles. So,
shocking.
This came out in 1980. I have to look because I don't remember the year. I don't see the year on here. Of course not. But this is the again, not released under the Thin Lizzy name. The single was released under the Greedies. But if you look at the picture,
yeah, that looks like Thin Lizzy with an extra body.
It's Steve Jones and Paul. What's the other guy's name from the Sex Pistols? Paul
Cook.
There you go, Paul Cook. This is a Christmas single that they released, very much in a punk style, but it's Thin Lizzy recording the music with those two guys. So it's a Merry Jingle and a Merry Jangle, front and back. So this one doesn't show up very often. It was only released as a single in the UK. So it was never released here. But kind of cool too. It's got all their autographs on the back, including the Sex Pistol guys.
That's cool.
But apparently Phil was a huge fan of the punk movement going on during that time. And even, was trying to incorporate some of that style in his music. So there it is, the Greedies.
Fun.
Where are we? We're almost to the end of the actual studio.
I think you're coming to my favorite one.
Killers Live. This is the 12-inch I was telling you about. We're almost there. Almost. Renegade.
Not there yet.
Again, Snowy White on guitar as well, Scott Gorham, and there's the guys in the back with the flag.
Yep. That's
this song. The song Angel of Death, for whatever reason, I don't know if this is true in Texas, and I don't listen to the radio much here, but when I'm at the gym, it's sometimes on. We have 94 Rock, and that song is in regular rotation on that station, which is a corporate station. So I'm assuming it's probably other stations too. You hear Jailbreak, you hear Boys Are Back in Town. Sometimes you'll hear the Rocker, but they play this Angel of Death quite a bit. And it's a heavy metal song all the way through, but it's odd because every single Thin Lizzy song's got some kick-ass solo in it, right? This one's got a keyboard synthesizer solo in it, right in the middle of a heavy metal track. Very odd, but very cool, and nonetheless. It's also got Hollywood on it, which was kind of a fan, kind of a hit. Mexican Blood, which I guess you couldn't put that song out these days. Renegade, The Pressure Will Blow. It's a fairly heavy album from them. They were definitely keeping up with what was going on in Europe at the time with the whole new wave of British heavy metal movement. And that's where this album was. But with the next album, they really jumped on board that new wave of British heavy metal sound.
Ding, 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 ding. This is my favorite, I think. Yay!
Like thunder and lightning. Yep. So they grabbed up John Sykes from Tigers of Pantang and he became one of the songwriters in the band with Phil. So his name is on quite a few tracks here. John Sykes, who would, of course, go on to fame with White Snake, among others.
Yep. Hands down, my favorite Thin Lizzy album. I think it's the most 80s rock, so that's why I like it. Heavier. I think the songs are really cool. And there's a killer concert video from that era, too.
And I'm going to say just about every song on this has been recorded by some metal band somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it's just a ton of them. But like Thunder and Lightning and Cold Sweat, those two tracks have been recorded by a lot of artists.
Oh, yeah. Cold Sweat's a killer track.
Yeah.
So,
that whole album is great.
I'm thinking of the Swords version of that.
Yeah, there's a bunch of them. I think I have a 7-inch single of the Swords version of that. But The Sun Goes Down, The Holy Wars, it's just a solid album.
Gosh, that album is great.
Even the cover very much goes along with that whole, new wave of British heavy metal movement from the 70s. So, from the late 70s and early 80s. But this was what, 83?
I think so.
And this is my one Japanese album that is missing the Obi strip. That drives me crazy.
And it's a short trip too. I hate that when I don't even buy them, even if they're in pristine condition. It's such a letdown.
I don't usually, but I bought this one 20 some years ago, and I've not come across a reasonable price. I don't care if it's completely beat up and someone licked the cover. If it has that Obi strip on it, man, I'm buying it because it's coming off that one and going on this one because this one's clean. But that pretty much spelled out the end of Lizzy, though. Phil was just such a junkie at the time. He was apparently barely functioning, which is unfortunate. But then they released Live Life, which was their second full live album.
Love it.
A lot of guest artists on this thing. Lemmy was a guest artist on this thing, among others. A lot of the old guitar players showed up. If you look closely at the back photo, just about every guitar player that was ever in Lizzy is on that stage in that picture.
That's a great record, man.
Yep. So you got Sykes on there. You've got the original from the trio days. Just everybody's on the stage. Brian Robertson, like looking with his headband, looking like he did when he was in Motorhead. So anyhow, I love this album too. It is a bit. What's the word I'm looking for? Overproduced. They went back and re-recorded a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
it's very, very slickly produced, so it loses a bit of the edge. And there's a lot of bootleg albums from this time period and from this show that are as good, if not better, than the official live album. So I've got some of those. I've got piles of bootlegs of these guys, but I didn't figure we had time to do all that. So, but there's lots of compilations too. I mean, I pulled a couple of them. Lizzy Killers. This is an old one.
Well, and even when they went on and without
Philip line at Thin Lizzy.
Without Phil, they toured as Thin Lizzy with
John Sykes. Wasn't John Sykes singing?
No,
yes.
Ricky Warwick is what I didn't see.
The beginning of that show, it was John Sykes singing, and then Ricky Warwick took over after John left.
Okay. I saw that version. That's the only version I ever saw, and they were quite good. And I knew I wasn't really technically seeing Thin Lizzy so much, but
read that comment down there. If you want to have some Thin Lizzy worship, that Pegasus band from Australia is right.
I have all their stuff too. I love Pegasus.
Yeah. There you go.
I even have a Pegasus tour poster from Steve Rowe from Mortification sent me because it was a dual show with Pegasus and Mortification. So, but yeah, this is the Lizzy you're talking about right here.
Yeah.
So this is volume 1 and volume 2. Lizzy live.
It was good. I met, and then when they changed into Black Star Riders, which was essentially that same lineup, pretty much. I saw them like standing right 12 inches from Scott Gorham. They were playing on a stage. It was about 1.5 feet tall, and man, it was cool to be that close to him. And he was very nice to me too. Glenn,
I'd love to meet him. He's the one.
Glenn said.
He's one of those bucket list guys that I've always wanted to meet and never have. So,
Nice guy. Hey, did you see what Glenn said?
hello, read my post.
Thin Lizzy's one of his all-time favorites. They played with him at Bang Your Head in 2003. Sykes on vocal, and Scott was nice.
Yeah, I've always heard that about Scott. I've always heard he's just a really nice guy. He always treats the fans real well. Never turns away an autograph, that kind of thing, which is fantastic. I mean,
He was
he should be
super
respected to your
nice to
fans.
me.
So.
Gave me a guitar pick. There were 2 guitar picks that went off the stage that night, and his went directly from his hand to mine, and the other one he dropped, and somebody picked it up.
Oh, geez.
I think that's right. I think I'm getting that right. I know the one I have. That's how it came to be.
There's also a bunch of these because Thin Lizzy played a lot on the radio back in John Peel days.
Oh, yeah.
So there's a lot of John Peel. This is one of them. There's a lot of John Peel recording sessions out there, but there's a freaking 1,000 Lizzy bootlegs, and I've got a couple.
You picked up some of those at our buddy here in town, right?
One of them, I can't remember.
Yeah.
One of them I did, yeah. This was actually recorded at the Tower Theater in Philadelphia, where I used to go see a lot of shows.
Nice.
Unfortunately, Lizzy played there before I was old enough to go. This is 77. So anyhow, this is the one I picked
Metal
up.
Queen. What's up?
This is the one I picked up at
oh, yeah, at Born Late.
Yep. He actually put this one aside for me, I guess.
Carry on.
Either you or Rob told him that I was coming in a big Thin Lizzy and Aerosmith fan, and this is that one he pulled for me.
Yeah.
So I couldn't not buy it. I actually left the price sticker on it because I don't think I've ever paid that much for a sticker for a record before. $50.
I'm not talking to you.
Yes, you are.
No, I'm not.
Yes, you are.
There's another one.
No, I'm not. I mean,
this is
never mind.
But anyhow, that's like pretty much their entire discography, all the studio albums and official live albums.
So wait, Sykes just called it quits. Is he retiring or gonna enjoy his life and his money a little bit, or is he health issues?
I have no idea. I never heard. I don't know.
I mean, those guys usually don't stop unless they physically just can't do it anymore.
Yeah, my complete Thin Lizzy experience is hearing the tunes on the radio, Jailbreak, and all that stuff. They're another greatest hits band for me, but my favorites are Thunder and Lightning, Life Live, Live and Dangerous. That was my jam. And then they've got some really killer videos, full-length concert videos, like the one in Australia is real badass. I love that one. Got that on DVD. But Scott is like the professor.
This is from they released back in the 80s an album called Dedication, which was a best of. But the song Dedication that Philip Lynott started writing before he passed away, the band went back. I don't know if it was supposed to be for a solo album or for his band Grand Slam, which is another thing we could get into because I have the Grand Slam stuff too, which was Philip's band after Thin Lizzy broke up. But in any case, the band went back and recorded all the instruments and the drums and with Philip Lynott's vocals and basses, and it was released on a single and as I think it was just a CD back then.
Yeah, it's a great song too.
So, but yeah, like I said, I got box sets and all that kind of fun stuff too, but I didn't have time to pull it all. We're already at an hour or so. But I did get this. I think I showed this on the last episode, and this thing is just fantastic. I did open it finally.
Do you have the Parisian Walkways single?
I believe I do. I'll double check in 5 seconds.
Jiminy Christmas!
Wow.
So there's the
Thin Lizzy much.
So disc 1 is the actual Live and Dangerous remastered, and then the rest of it's all the different shows that they used to put together that album from.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them a lot of them in the UK, some of them in the US though, including Philadelphia, my old stomping ground. So really cool. And the book in here is, I mean, it's if you're into Lizzy, but I mean everything is just done so well in this book. And there you go. That's a great shot of Brian Robertson there.
Same. I got a mega lesson too. I knew a lot of the albums, but I didn't know I don't have that kind of depth on Thin Lizzy.
Well, I'm going to be wearing out YouTube tonight since I'm going to be sitting at my drawing table. So,
well, for me, I discovered Thin Lizzy literally as a kid. I mean, I was in grade school. I got into music early. Before that, I was into sports, and then I discovered Kiss and Aerosmith, and sports went out the window, and it became all about art and music. All I cared about was listening to music and drawing pictures on my table. That was all I cared about as a kid. All my friends were like, "Let's go do something." I'm like, "Okay, let's come to my house and I'll put on some Kiss and we'll draw some pictures." They're like, "You don't want to go? You don't want to go play baseball?" Oh, heck no, man! I want to go listen to some music.
I would have come to your house and listened to Kiss and drawn pictures.
So yeah, so Lizzy were just one of those bands I discovered early on and latched onto and never let go of. Aerosmith, Kiss, and Thin Lizzy were basically the first three bands, heavy bands that I discovered, and from there just did it out to everything else, you know. So yeah, that's why I guess why I'm such a fanatic on Lizzy.
Yeah, no, that's great, man. Well, thank you for taking us to school on that today. We're about 10 minutes past, but yeah, that was a serious Carcass. We took a serious lesson today.
well,
man.
I took serious notes, so here we go. Like I said, like Papa Wayne says, YouTube rabbit hole tonight, and I will, like I say, I got a drawing to finish. Speaking of the Metal Queen, and I'm excited about it, and so that'll help me focus.
Awesome. Well, dude, Scott, thanks for taking us through all that. That was fantastic.
Well, I'm glad you liked it because I felt like I took over, and that's not how our show usually goes. So,
well, I mentioned to Rob, I said, you've been pretty quiet these last few weeks, and so so here's your chance to get caught up.
Yeah. Now, well, and like we always said, the show is supposed to be about, hey, we just ran into each other in a bar and got to talking about Thin Lizzy. And that's exactly what would happen. You would tell us everything you know about Thin Lizzy, and we'd
order another root beer and another burrito, probably.
Right. Yeah. And it would be all good. So no, I'm pleased. I thought it was a great episode. So
I would be all about that, but I would probably have a Long Island.
Yes, you would. I've witnessed that actually. Well, let's do another one. Somebody suggested Motorhead. We could do an Aerosmith one day because I don't know. I know very little about Aerosmith except for the, 80s, 90s stuff. So,
and I'm the 70s through Rockin' a Hard Place is my sweet spot. I mean, I love most Aerosmith. And I'm a fanatic of all of it, but that 70s stuff up and through the early 80s, Rockin' a Hard Place that's where I live, and that's one band like Thin Lizzy that there probably doesn't a week go by that I don't play something from them on my turntable.
Well, in effigy to you, I spun Toys in the Attic yesterday, and I don't know why, I just grabbed it out of the bin and threw it on the table, and I thought, man, they're just great. What are they, 50 years old now, and they still hold up? Are those out? What?
That was 1975.
Yeah, there you go, almost 50 years ago.
Well, we've got our work cut out for us. They want an AC/DC show, which I would be okay with. I'm a roller coaster with AC/DC.
Yeah, but we'll have to have Francisco come back on because remember he said that was his jam was AC/DC. So
let's do it.
He's going to have to shed the grindcore image and let's talk all things AC/DC. I'd love to do that too. Yeah.
Yep.
I'd love Motorhead might be more than one show. Their catalog is rather massive.
It is massive, and their collaborations, man.
I think Carcass and I did a Sabbath show in the early days of the show. I think. Didn't we do a proto metal show?
Yeah, we sure did.
I think we did.
I mean, we can readdress it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because I remember talking about Buffalo and Birth Control and Orange Peel and Orangutan, and those are all heavy bands.
Yeah. Well, we've got our work cut out for us. Well, boys, are y'all ready to wrap it up?
Sure.
We are.
Parting shots?
No, hey, congratulations to Creeper And
Yes.
Hand Over Fist, they're actually getting to go too. They were the other band that was chosen. And man, they got something. Stranger things have happened. Can you imagine if they? Because we did we have Monarch on? Remember those guys? I actually did a shirt and a album cover for San Diego's Monarch. They're like a speed thrash band, and
I've got the
they
shirt.
ended up winning the whole thing, and they
Yep.
went to Vaca, and it was quite an experience for them. So positive vibes and much power to you there, Taryn, Tex, Duncan, and we're gonna wish you all the best.
Heck yes.
Yeah,
we
guys,
are.
I don't mean to just chat and run, but I just got a very important phone call that came in that I've been waiting for, so I need to
Yeah.
fly.
Do your thing, bro. See you soon.
All right, man.
Later,
All right,
I'll
man.
talk to you guys soon.
See you, Thin.
All right. Well, if I don't, sorry, these allergies are killing me, man.
It's bad today, man, and
Oh,
it's
my eyes are itching. It's hard for me not to scratch my eyes.
and so do you like my new since I do the crypt on Fridays on Deep Dallas Radio, I've decided that the room needed to be more cryptic.
I like it. A little darker.
Actually,
the ceiling
the
fan's not
ceiling
working.
fan light doesn't work anymore. So
Right on. Yeah, well, let's take it out. You can follow me on Instagram at Metal Robs Records, where you will get your ass whipped with things that I'm selling in my store. You can also follow the Carcass at Carcass John Art on Instagram.
Yep.
We're very easy to find on Facebook and YouTube and all that. Please make sure that you follow us and like us and share us and all those crazy things. Just don't touch us, unless we ask to be touched. I was going to say something, follow that up with something else funny, and I don't remember what it was.
well,
But yes, you can follow Scott on YouTube. Just search Scott Waters, and he's got an amazing channel with all kinds of shit that he talks about on there. But yeah, that was a good episode, and I didn't feel bad at all that I didn't have a whole lot to say, because that's exactly what I expected, was him to just absolutely teach class, and he dominated.
There's nothing wrong with getting an education there, brother.
Nope. Well, you know how we do it. Until next time, metal will
prevail.
It will. Watch.